Hello and welcome back. We are on chapter 12 of Supernatural Night Terrors by John Passarella. All kinds of craziness kicking off in Clayton Falls. There's been giant tarantulas, giant Gila monsters, velociraptors, killer trees. We have the promise of Nazi zombies coming up right now. Let's see what happens in chapter 12 of Supernatural Night Terrors. Ignoring posted speed limits, Dean raced the Impala east along Bell Street, reluctantly tapping the brake pedal as he rolled through each red traffic light. No guarantee the velociraptors hadn't returned to hunt another car and driver. He shook his head in disbelief. "This is what I meant," Sam said. "This is all wrong." "You mean the Harvey Dufford smoothie back here, or the Dead Snow sequel on Main Street?" "Dead Snow, great film, watch it." "Everything." "Not arguing." "Those velociraptors don't match current fossil records," Sam said. "Real velociraptors were smaller." "So are tarantulas and Gila monsters." "They had feathers." "Tarantulas?" "Velociraptors," Sam said. "More bird-like than reptilian." Dean nodded. "So we rule out wormholes and time travel, along with the return of the Third Reich. You got a theory?" "These manifestations are real," Sam said, "but inaccurate." "I'm listening." "They're more like perceptions," Sam continued, "or misconceptions." "Put it that way," Dean said. "Sounds like a tulpa." "Dozens of tulpas?" Sam suggested, and dismissed the idea with a shake of his head. "No, I don't see how." "FBI, you there?" said a familiar voice, punctuated by an electronic squawk. Sam pulled the two-way radio from his pocket. "Shelley?" "Couple of cars drag racing west on Welker," Shelley said. "Thought you should know. Least I think they're drag racing." Sam frowned. Dean shook his head. "Don't look at me, he's your deputy." "Thanks, Shelley." "Actually, they might be driving under the influence, weaving all over the road like that." Sam leaned forward, intent now. "Where are you?" "Near the restaurant district, of course." "Did I hear screaming in the background?" Dean asked. "Restaurant. He's a block or two from Maine." "Shelley, listen to me," Sam said urgently. "Get away from there." "Whoa, lady," Shelley said as the sound of a screaming woman passed by his mic. "What the hell are they supposed—" "Shelley, get out of there." "Some kind of invasion? Soldiers? Nazis? They ain't right." Shelley's breathing was ragged. They heard the rustling sounds of him running. "FBI, I'm sorry. This ain't for me. I quit." Sam tried the transmit button several times, rewarded with only silence. "Don't worry, man," Dean said. "He got away. Probably tossed your radio down a sewer." The Impala pulled to the side, buffeted by a savage gust of wind. Lightning flashed repeatedly, revealing a thick mass of thunderheads. Then a jagged lightning bolt struck a corner lot, hammering a cottonwood with an explosive crack. A large branch split from the trunk, toppled sideways, crashing through the windows of a two-door garage. A couple blocks further east, a curtain of heavy rain slashed across the Impala's hood and pounded the windshield. Though Dean turned the wipers to their highest setting, he felt as if he were driving under water. Smears of light streaked across the safety glass, and the world seemed to melt around them. Poor visibility forced him to decelerate to a crawl. For all he could tell, another sinkhole loomed 100 feet ahead. Maybe a cliff. At this point, anything was possible. Dean gripped the wheel and ploughed on. Just then, the downpour eased a little. Another lightning bolt struck one block ahead of the Impala and skittered across all 4 lanes of Bell Street, finally blasting a freestanding mailbox. A shower of sparks erupted from the scorched box, which had been dislodged from its cement mooring. Flames flared through a twisted gap at the side of the box as letters and packages burned until doused by the unrelenting rain. Dean loosened his white-knuckled hold on the steering wheel. "That was close," he said. The close encounters seemed to be stacking up. Ahead on their right, a searing white flash preceded a fiery explosion. "Transformer hit," Sam said. Dean tried to blink away the afterimage of the lightning bolt from his retinas. The damaged wooden utility pole teetered toward the road, engulfed in flame. The pole-mounted transformer at the top showered sparks like the world's largest welder's torch. "Dean, it's coming down!" Burning at the top, severed near the base, The utility pole swung down towards the street, trailing snapped live wires. Dean floored the accelerator and swung the Impala into the oncoming lanes, which were fortunately empty. Glancing in the rearview mirror, he saw the pole come to rest in the middle of the road, still burning and spitting sparks in every direction. "That was closer," Sam said. "Did Storm have a personal grudge?" They passed a street sign for Arcadia Boulevard on the right, one more block before Main Street. Dean looked ahead into the rainy night, made more difficult by a dead row of street lights. Sam turned in his seat, looking back down Arcadia. "Hold up," Sam said. "They've reached the row of restaurants back there." "You saw them? Actual Nazi zombies?" Sam nodded. "At least a half-dozen hungry zombies looking to dine on the diners." The repeated booms and ongoing rumble of the thunderstorm woke Roman Messerly. He experienced a few moments of disorientation as he took in his surroundings. His head rested on the pillow, but his bedcovers were relatively undisturbed, and he still wore his EMT uniform. Last thing he remembered was going off duty, driving home. After that, his memory was a blur. Pressing his forearm across his forehead, he closed his eyes. Not quite a blur. He remembered exhaustion sweeping over him as he entered his town home. He skipped preparing a small meal for himself, instead heading for the bedroom. For some reason, he thought he'd take a nap and then eat something before going to sleep. It made no sense to him. Usually he had trouble sleeping, which he attributed to drinking coffee non-stop during his waking hours. Occupational hazard. His job entailed long periods of boredom, punctuated by short periods of action, the aftermath of mayhem visited upon others. His actions could mean life or death for somebody, so he tried to remain alert at all times. Accidents were caused by carelessness, and he could not afford a moment of distraction. Some nights he tossed and turned for hours, probably sweating out the last dregs of caffeine, before he fell asleep. And he was not a heavy sleeper. He kept his pager and cell close to the bed. He never knew when they might need him. Sometimes he dreamed the pager was buzzing. He'd wake up and grab it, only to find it quiet and still in his hands. Rare was the night he slept more than 3 hours in a row, or 5 hours total. Lethargic, he forced himself to climb out of bed and walk to the window. To the west he saw the lights of downtown, the stretches of darkness marking a power outage. Flashes of lightning opened the black sky, revealing masses of angry clouds. As he stood there, he thought about how comfortable the bed had been. It pulled him like a gravity well. At that moment he wanted nothing more than to sleep for 10 hours straight. He had almost convinced himself to give in to the unnatural exhaustion when he saw the lightning strike and heard the boom. From experience he thought a pole-mounted transformer had been hit. Above the trees a flare of fire illuminated the night. It looked to him like Bell Street. Hurrying to his bed, he reached for his pager and cell phone and experienced a moment of dizziness. Again, the urge to climb into bed and sleep it off hit him. He teetered on the moment of indecision, weighing duty against personal weakness. Lightning flashes bathed his bedroom in stark, shifting shadows. For a moment, the shadows over his bed seemed to slide and race across the wall, as if with a mind of their own. Then the room plunged into darkness, and he attributed the strange motion to tricks of the weird lighting. His pager vibrated, shimmering across the tabletop. When he checked the display, he saw he had 5 queued messages. Strangely, he hadn't even heard it once. The cell phone display lit up. The quick check revealed he'd received several calls and a half-dozen text messages. As he walked out of his bedroom, he shook his head in disbelief. Nothing like this had ever happened to him before. Must have slept like the dead to miss all those alerts, he thought. Fortunately, it hadn't helped. He was exhausted. Hold on. Dean checked the oncoming lanes and his side view mirror before spinning the steering wheel hard left, while accelerating, making a sweeping 360 turn to loop back to Arcadia Boulevard and dart down the wide street until he had a visual on the World War II era zombies. He parked in a loading zone in front of Mamma Ferracci, an Italian restaurant. While Dean parked illegally, Sam released the partial spent magazine from his automatic and replaced it with a full one. The rain had eased to a light shower. Arcadia Boulevard sought a measure of old-world appeal with a row of ornamental horse-heads hitching posts that alternated with faux gas street lamps along the length of the sidewalk. Each storefront and restaurant had a different coloured vinyl awning, and some businesses announced daily specials or sales on chalkboard sidewalk signs. Unfortunately, the proliferation of LCD parking meters conspired to spoil the turn of the 20th century illusion. Then again, add a dozen shambling Nazi zombies to any setting, and you have more than enough anachronistic confusion. Balls of life. As they exited the Impala, Dean looked over the roof of the car at Sam. "What do you think? Silver stake through the heart?" "Nope," Sam said. "Perception is reality." "Ah," Dean said. "Romero school. Headshots." Dean took a quick count of the zombies. No less than 9 soldiers in green helmets and uniforms with blackjack boots. An SS officer stood out in the black uniform, peaked cap with the SS eagle and a red armband with a black and white swastika prominent. A greying field marshal also wore a peaked cap but with a full-length leather trench coat, while a younger officer wore a white summer tunic stained with blood, due in large part to a gaping abdominal wound exposing a loop of intestines. All of them had blood caked around their mouths and on their hands. Impossible to know if they had appeared bloodied out of thin air, or if they had already begun snacking on the citizens of Clayton Falls. Red and blue light pulsed from the light bars of 2 police cruisers parked at hurried angles farther down the street. Both cops, a burly man with dark hair and a pale face, and a trim blonde woman in her mid-20s, were slowly approaching the zombies with their guns drawn and braced with both hands, held down at 45-degree angles. Thankfully, the immediate area was clear of civilians, but Dean spotted frightened faces behind the glass doors and windows of several restaurants. "Freeze!" the male cop yelled at the nearest undead soldier. Ignoring his command, the soldier rammed his helmeted head into the glass door of a coffee shop decorated with a blue and white striped awning. The glass shattered, and Dean heard startled screams coming from inside the building. The cop fired a round into the back of the soldier, who immediately turned around and staggered towards him. One of the soldier's eyes looked as if it had been clawed from the socket. As he lumbered towards the cop, the other police officer fired, hitting the zombie on the side to little effect. "Headshots!" Dean yelled. Both cops immediately swiveled, raising their guns towards the Winchester brothers. Well, that's stupid. Oh man, and that's the end of that chapter. We need to stop and have some lunch. But join us again to see whether they survive the Nazi zombie invasion and the rest of the night, because it got crazy. See you soon.